Wait, one time I'm recording, I should be recording now. Okay, hello and welcome back to Random Game Brandies. In today's episode we're playing Fuss No. Once again, this is part 3 of our journey through the game. Now, last time we just began Act 1? Yeah, I think it was Act 1. So we're slowly working our way to Act 2. With the weather turning worse and worse as the week went on, the library seemed as good a place as any to spend some time before having lunch. Unfortunately, it looks like I wasn't the only one who had that idea. While the library here is bigger than my previous schools, that doesn't matter much when a large portion of students are dumped inside. While my first choice would have been using one of the computers that's obviously out of the out of the question. There we go. I was gonna say out of the computer. Worried about looking like a dork as I loiter about. I start walking slowly through the library. Thankfully nobody pays me much attention while I glance from side to side for an empty table or desk. The students who are actually studying seem to be outnumbered by those gossiping with friends or catching up on sleep. It's only in the far corner of the room that I catch a familiar face, I bet not necessarily a welcome one. Elan sits hunched over a thick textbook, occasionally scribbling into a small notebook beside it, as her finger stops every so often on a important part or another. It's hard to tell if she's annoyed or just studying hard. I consider leaving Elan to her studying and braving the weather outside before she rubs her temple and looks down mournfully at her notebook. That pose is all too familiar for any student. Feel a little too bad for her, given the vending machine problems and how she wound up with Caprice stuck to her. She doesn't seem to have very good luck. She might not be the friendliest person, but if I could help her a bit. With Wallace's words weighing on my mind, I grimace. You know what, I can never say this one word. And accept my fate as I begin walking to the otherwise empty table. She looks up and catches my eye as I come near, so I guess I'm committed to this now. My existence has been noted. I don't think that could sound any more punctuator. My wording is not working now. This word. But at least she isn't shooing me away. Set my bag beside my chair. As I take a seat and pull out my phone to check for any missed messages, and switch it to silent before placing it on the table before me.
Hey.
I'm surprised you're not in the art room. Don't live there, you know. Would it be more private than here, though? She lets out a long, miserable groan as her head sinks. Hardly difficult to work out what that means. Caprice wouldn't stop bugging me to join her drawing for some stupid theme. What was it? Wasn't really listening, Christmas scenes or something. She barely even listening to me as she tries to me off. Caprice is probably scurrying around campus as we speak, hoping for me to join her as a drawing partner. What are you studying? Math. It's been kicking my butt, so I need to get my head around it for these stupid Jeanette. You know what, I'm not sure. Gen Ed classes. Elan barely lifts her head up from the notebook as she speaks, looking over the table at her work. Various practice equations cover the notebook's page. Have to admit, I do admire Elan's drive. I was just going to pass some time in the library reading, but seeing her working away has made me feel a little guilty. You any good at this stuff? Maths? Well, I ended up skipping the Gen Ed class thanks to my placement exams results. Someone spent their time studying like a good little teacher's pet. Nothing like that. Math and science are easy enough. So I ended up coasting along. And I need to learn how to study now that I'm here. I need to learn how to study now that I'm here. Lean eyes narrow. Maybe she wasn't exaggerating about her skills. After having such an easy time in high school, it's easy to forget I'm the odd one out here. Of course, I'd put my foot in my mouth, just as I was starting to break the ice with her.
Huh?
I mean, if you want, I could have a look at your work. She hardly enthusiastic, but shrugs and moves herself a little out of the way. My curiosity got in the better of me. Coming around the table and looking at the notebook from behind her, I take a gander at her notes so far. At least this is easy to read, given her immaculate handwriting. The more I check over her notes, though, the more the corners of my mouth drag down. She's done a good job of showing her process, and the first couple of questions covering expressions look right at a glance. When it comes to polynomials, however, the next two steps have odd leaps of logic. Well, last menders off into the wilderness. I realize I should say something to express how she's done so far, but the window of time to say something even mildly positive to soften the blow has long since passed. So it's like that, huh? You got some of it right. That didn't help. Polynomials do seem to trip a lot of people up, so isn't catastrophic isn't catastrophical bad? Catastrophe. Cool. Isn't a catastrophe bad? At this still. You know what, I can never get that word, proper, I just don't care now. Considering the first semester of Gen Ed subjects is mostly reviewing what we did in high school, this isn't a promising start. Mind if I scribble on this a bit?
Sure.
Knock yourself out. I reach over to grab my pen from the other side of the table before hunching over her book and jotting down a couple of notes. First up are a few pointers to where the first two polynomials went away, before taking a parallel crack at the worst of them. Pausing for a moment halfway to check the logic of what I'm doing, I'm satisfied. I'm on the right track. As I finish off, the result looks about right. Lean slips over the textbook page on cue to check my answer, looking a little dubious as she does so. Vindicated by the matching result, I feel a good bit of relief at not making a fool of myself in front of her. At least one of us has a head for the stuff. Does it make more sense to you now? She takes a thorough look at my scribbles on her notebook, eyebrows furrowed, as she tries to pick up the reason. Can't help but glance between my notes and Élan as she looks over them. If she didn't project or wanted to be left alone all the time, just her looks and her style would probably attract people. I think so. You don't sound so sure. This is about as confident as I ever get with maths. So don't worry. I'll have to repay you sometime. Taking that as a confirmation that my job is done, I return to my seat as Élan leans back in her chair. It's nothing really. You should ask your professor though, if you're not confident doing polynomials. You didn't ask them doesn't mean that I want to. Given how frank she is, I guess this must be a matter of pride rather than shyness. Maybe that's where her stubbornness comes from. Why are you wasting your time here with me anyway? Don't you have some friends to do fencings with? I only really know you and Caprice met Wallace the other day actually. So that brat was trying to drag him into the club too. Wallace may think it might be a good experience for her, but Aline disdain for Caprice is going to be hard to overcome. Hear my phone vibrate on the table. I quickly pick it up to see who's messaged me. I quickly force myself to keep a poker face as the name comes into view. She must have given up on art out of loneliness. Aline avoiding her, and I'm here. I'm terribly hungry, but I should probably get at least a sandwich or something from the cafeteria before classes begin. Big news, Ali. Tell you later in bio. I want to grab something at the cafeteria. Quickly typing an agreement to meet there, I log the phone once more. I might go grab lunch. Want to come? Sorry, I already ate. Thanks for the offer, though. She's already back to concentrating on her textbook as she mumbles the reply. It's probably for the best, anyway. Given a quite quiet farewell, I grab my bag and put my phone back inside. As I pull it over my shoulder, though Aline looks up. By the way, don't blame you for any of the stuff Caprice is pushing. You seem alright. So I'm alright. Perhaps I should accept that as praise coming from her. Glad for our meeting having somewhat successful. Been somewhat successful, I must have been. I wave goodbye and head out towards the cafeteria. The cafeteria is a little less full than the library. The stocks of food behind the counter already running low on all the usual student favourites, with the line for food moving quickly. I remember one time I would always buy a muffin, crisps, and juice. Well, not juice, milk. And I remember later on it became just a muffin and milk, and then it became milk, and then it became nothing. I would eat nothing all school just because I did not like going up there. Plus, it was very annoying. It was very annoying, I tell you. Especially after I I would get milk, right? But this time I wanted to buy a lot of milk. But then the thing is, pre-order milk. Pre-order. The disabled kids had, pre-order milk. Oh, so mad, I tell you. Because normally you would want to keep that to the side so that they could easily get it themselves, Well, not themselves, but, someone would go there and get it for them. But no, keep it with the normal milk. So I was so annoyed, I tell you, so annoyed. Eventually I just stopped going to the cafeteria. It was just not worth it. Just not worth it. So I would always just sit on that chair. Good memories. I would just sit on that chair outside one of the heads of the school. Not like a head, like teacher, but the people below them. Deputies. And that was not too bad, I tell you. That was not too bad. Because I would just sit out there, and then eventually a music teacher would get the job of, the last guy who's there, who's super nice, I tell you. Feel bad for him because that person absolutely, I really hate, the music teacher woman. Because she was just a terrible person. Whenever I would want to do music class, she would be mad and be mean to me. Whenever I did not want to do it, she would be bad and mean to me. So I could never, get it right with her. And I would never want to anyway. Not a very good person, I tell you. And after she came to singing, I started sitting on paper. I just sat on paper, like literal pieces of paper, and I sat on the floor because there was just nowhere else to go because she kicked me off of the chairs. Eventually it was just one chair, and then it was eventually no chairs. Because, you know, she didn't let me sit in there. Where else did I have to go? I tell you, all the people in my class, you know, they were off doing all their own, you know, adventures. I would go to computer club, but eventually I would stop going to computer club sometimes. So, you know, it was a hit or miss. The reason why I stopped going to computer clubs because I started, you know, there was not, you know, the regular person that used to be always there. So I stopped going. It's just not worth it. It's just not worth it. Terrible time, I tell you. High school time, not very good. With the line for food to move in quickly, I managed to grab the last set of sandwiches and move on. Scanning about, I noticed Caprice sipping her juice. A empty tray before her. She sure eats fast. Glad for the company, either way. I walk over and take a seat at her table. Hey, Ali. Long time no see. We saw each other yesterday. How's everything going? How are your classes? Not too bad. It's all familiar enough right now. Not that everyone's doing as well as I am. As I unpack my sandwich and begin to nibble, my thoughts turn to the woman in the library. I feel a little sorry for her. Elan's struggle reminded me that I have it easier than some at times. And then there's a matter of her and the club. Setting my foot back down, I decide to tackle this more directly than usual. Elan can be so direct with others, then so can I. I was thinking, you meant for me and Elan to meet last week, didn't you? She's fun, isn't she? Something like that. That painting of the girl in the water was really pretty. She's really good, huh? No wonder the other art club tried to grab her. About that, well, more about Elan. Not sure it's a good idea to be forcing people into the club. I know you're excited to get things started, but just because her art's good doesn't mean she wants to be in the club. You sound like you're not really into it yourself. She's sharper than I give her credit for. That's it. Finally getting the word in properly. Instead of trying to, you know, get it all messed up, I tell you. Caught off guard. I have to stop and think as she sips at her last of her juice. The sucking sound as she makes sure to get every last drop doesn't help. Can't say I'm enthusiastic about this. Elan's studying isn't exactly what I need to be doing. Lest I waste my scholarship. On the other hand, Caprice is my only friend right now, and I do enjoy spending time with her. If she puts down her drink with a satisfied breath, I know my answer. I can make time for it. She gives a comical big sigh, missing my hesitation entirely. If this ends up only being between a couple of us, maybe it won't be too bad, long as it's not a whole bunch of people getting involved. I want to do this for her sake as well. You know, Elan looks kinda lonely all by herself in that room. Huh? I hadn't considered that Caprice was coming at it from that angle. Makes sense. Makes me... Okay. I thought it was meaning it makes sense. Okay. It makes me think a little better of her. What she says makes me reconsider Elan's actions in another light as well. I wonder how much of her reluctancy around this isn't due to Caprice herself, but rather her feeling used by the other club for her art. Seeing that kind of talent makes you kinda envious though, right? Well, I drew a bit in high school for fun. I don't think I could ever manage something beautiful like that. We keep chatting, but Caprice's earlier words stick firmly in my mind. We may meet every school day, and talk quite a lot, at least she does. But I realize just how little I really know her in spite of that. Maybe spending more time together wouldn't be so bad after all. This Act 2? Nope. I always think, with that, bit there, it's always gotta be Act 2, but no. With time on my hands, thanks to the last class of the week finally being over, some quiet sketching would be a nice way to unwind. With that in mind, I make my way up to the art room. Studying would be the proper thing to do, but I'm just too burned out. Not that the stubborn cold helps either. My nose. Sorry about that. Well, most classes are winding down. I'm starting to get that little bubble at your nose, I tell you. That when you're trying to talk, it's just, bouncing back, at the back of your throat to your nose bit, and then, it's terrible too. Well, most classes are winding down. Their professors are aware that the looming holidays are a big distraction. Others have tried ramping up the workload to try and cover everything in their semester plans. I might be keeping up, but plenty aren't. With my bag tucked under my arm, I give a sigh as I stagger along the snowy path to the arts building. It would be nice to feel like I'm doing more than treading water in class and socially. Stepping into the arts building with its strung up decorations reminds me to look on the bright side. It's already the middle of November, so it's not long until Christmas and being back with family. I'll be thankful to be back with them, even if the rest of the holiday period is a wash. I managed to angle around a chatting group of friends blocking the hallway and start up the stairs without bothering them. Another small success. I briefly wonder if Elan's in the art room. As I proceed along the second floor hallway, her paintings are always nice to see, but whether she thinks of me as just another pain as she views Caprice weighs on my mind. Opening the door to the quiet room, I can't say I'm surprised at the sight before me. Of course she was going to be here. Elan glances over as I gingerly shut the door behind me, ending up being the only acknowledgement of my presence. Sorry, I have an itch under my leg there. Ending up being the only acknowledgement of my presence at all before she goes right back to work. Curiosity about what she's painting gets better.
Hey.
Is that okay if I watch?
Sure.
Go ahead. She doesn't bother to look at me as she says it, but doesn't sound reluctant either. So I scoot over and sit myself on the table as quietly as I can. Elan's brush continues to slick to and fro from as she works on the background. So Priest is a no-show. She said she had to go do something with her roommates. Her shoulders slump as she sighs, relieved. Do you really hate her that much? Believe me, if I hated her, you'd know. I'm just glad to have some quiet. Hard not to take that as thinly veiled implication that I should be quiet as well. Wallace might be wrong that Elan means well, but that doesn't make her any easier to talk to. I'm going to hydrate, I tell you, my throat is getting dry. You know what, I really like the art style, I tell you. This would definitely be a thumbnail if it was actually screenshot. But I tell you, it never once said properly. Yeah. Wallace might not be wrong that Elan means well, but that doesn't make her any easier to talk to. Something on your mind? You're really good at this. It'd feel weird to say I've been talking about Elan behind her back. What I said is true though. I'm impressed she can carry on a conversation while working, and I like how her paintings turn out.
Thanks.
Thanks, been doing it for a while. As a hobby. If everything works out hopefully as a career, artist or teacher, aiming for the latter. That does explain her persistence at working a way to get better. Wanting to be a teacher though, she gives the feeling gives the feeling of a drill sergeant more than an art tutor. Tubes out. Eileen gets up and places her supplies on the still beside her, opening the cupboard and fiddling about. Before long, she emerges with a new tube of crimson paint in her hand. Rather than get back to painting after closing the door, though, she instead turns to me. So, what about you?
Huh?
Sorry? What are you doing once you escape this place? Oh, I don't really know. Still trying to figure that out. Feel like I failed a test as I trail off, but Eileen doesn't seem worried. You're still young, and there's a good few courses to look into here. Just try your hand at whatever comes up until something grabs you. There are plenty of worse ways to spend your time in college. You're smart too, so you have that going for you. I awkwardly smile at the praise. I've never been good at knowing how to handle compliments. She may say that, but the fact Eileen's so set on a career, yet only seemed to be around my age, rubs in my lack of direction. I'm still patting myself on the back for managing groceries. My parents always told me I could do whatever I set my mind to, but it was so easy to tread water for me that I never bothered trying to swim. Sounds like you have a nice family. I move to respond. The memory of them gives me the familiar pang of homesickness all over again. I might have found time to call Mum yesterday, but it just isn't the same. You okay? Yeah, just I miss them. Well, everyone here's going through the same thing. You as well. I miss my sister, yeah, she's probably fine, but that doesn't make it any easier. Mum and Dad too. To be honest, things be easier between me and my folks since I moved out. It's hard to imagine being on such bad terms with my family that moving away was better. The best thing about Christmas will be the chance to see them again, but Liam doesn't seem particular fussed about it all. Leaving me to ponder, Eileen goes back to her painting. I get the feeling she wouldn't be gracious to caprice, so she seems to think a little better of me. At least she's lent me a ear.
Not boring you, am I? No, not at all. I like watching you paint.
She pauses a moment before continuing. It's only for a second, but I sense a hesitation there. Did I say something wrong? The moment passes as soon as it arrived. Lean brush returning to the canvas. Does her students appear to have left by now? The orange-stained room, silent save for her work. The building's just a little cold, but that's fine. As the minutes roll by, I end up watching her for a while as I swing my legs. I almost forgot I came here to actually draw, but that doesn't matter. Watching her paint slowly progress is more than enough. Every so often she mixes up a dab of this paint and that on the wooden palette beside her. The side of a hip is traced out, the slight bouncing off a waist shaded. or a flowing strand of hair detailed with a fine tip. I can't help but admire her ability to set a goal and stay true to it, knowing exactly what she's working toward at the at this stage of her life. If only I had an ounce of the ambition Élan
I
has.
might go to a cafe nearby to grab a coffee. I'll be back in a bit.
Tired?
Yeah. Sorry to distract you from your work.
Glad for the company. Have fun.
With that, I hop off the table and dart toward the door.
Oh, wait.
Her voice stops me in my tracks, just as I am about to go. It'd be great if she decided to come as well.
Could you grab me a coffee too? Espresso, straight. I'll give you some cash when you come back.
Espresso straight, we need to remember that. So much for that, as the character will. Those are some nice boots, I tell you. But it would be a pain to get them off because they'll just stick to your thigh, I tell you. The cafeteria hums away as students talk amongst themselves. The room having mostly filled up by now, the thought briefly passes my mind that winter must be great for business, given being the closest place for cheap food during bad weather. Some smears on the edges of the palate are all that remains of mostly cooked pasta served today. What's left of my accompanying soda bubbling away while I pass some time browsing the site, and that, as I read, a shadow suddenly looms over the other side of the table. Looking up from my phone reveals a very familiar figure. Élan peers down as she stands at the opposite side of the table, a large plate of food steaming away in her hand. The fresh pasta sauce is strong enough to smell from here. Okay to sit here?
Hi!
Ah, sure. I quickly set my phone down as she takes a seat and arranges her tray on the table. Happy that she chose to sit with me. I glance around to see if anyone's with her. Makes me realize why she probably chose to sit here. The cafeteria practically full, and this is simply the nearest table with space available. I want to take her first gulp of food. Elan's fork halts midair before saying something. Cold any better? Yeah, clearing up now. Good to hear. With that, she starts on her pasta and salad. As I take my phone to browse some more, and Élan calmly eats the average, at best, cafeteria food. As best, well, it feels as though, not as best. It feels as though there's no need to chat, just to fill the air. That silence between us is becoming more comfortable. That is before I get a message. Can't make dinner, work sucks. Looking away at the browser app, I take a quick look. You were getting groceries yesterday, right? Anything in the fridge? Seconds tick by as I wait for a response. A sense of concern starting to take over. Rose? Rose? Sorry. Rose? Work needs me. See you later. All I can do is sigh. Cracks me up. And slump down in my seat as I lay my phone on the table. Élan looks at me in puzzlement, her fork hovering near her mouth.
Huh?
Bad news. Roommate forgot to do groceries. We're out of food. Had you just grab a burger on the way home? That would be the plan. If I wasn't nearly through my allowance, I'd just look away and groan. Not up to outright saying that I'm broke. It's that bad, huh? At first glance she shrugs off as she goes back to eating, but she seems to actually be in thought after watching her a bit. Eventually, after finishing her food, she speaks up. I guess I was cooking some extra anyway. You can come over for dinner if you want. It's within walking distance. The suggestion enough to make me bolt upright in an instant. What, to your place? Yeah, it should be fine, right? You okay with stir fry?
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate this. Sure, whatever. Just don't make it weird. Considering the discussion over, Eileen goes back to finishing off her food, without much concern for what she's just said. Maybe she does have a good side. Stopping before the large black door, I repeat the address Eileen gave me to reassure myself. I've come to the right place. Eileen's definition of walkable is apparently rather different than mine. Still catching my breath from the hike. I thought I was going to be fine, but my nerves are getting the better of me now that I'm here. I'm going into a near stranger's home, after all, and it'd be just the two of us. In school, we just happened to be around each other, but it's entirely different. Glancing down the hall to make sure nobody's watching me awkwardly loiter around. I take a moment to appreciate how nice her apartment building is. This is a nice area, and everything inside is immaculate. Even the hallway carries a slight scent of cleaning products. Out of excuses to stall any longer, I take a breath and gingerly press the door bell. Its muffled chime ringing out from behind the door. I thought that was the elevator, I tell you. Sounds like it. I run my hands through my hair one more time to make sure I look presentable as footsteps come to the door. The plain wooden door swings open, answered by not Eileen. Oh, evening. Before I can ask if I got the right apartment, he turns around. Allison, he's here. Wallace jerks his head around for me to follow. I obediently do so. So too confused to get a word out. Eileen didn't mention he would be here. I don't know how I feel about it. Maybe I should be relieved it's just not the two of us. Barely noticing the foot of the door closing behind me, I take a quick glance around her apartment as I place my coat on the counter. The first striking thing is how clean it is, with everything put neatly in its place. Then again, aside from a few paintings on the wall that are possibly her own, there's not much clutter around to clean up. The television, quite a decent size for students, sits on a cable news channel, riveting as economic situation report is. It's barely audible over the clanking rice cooker coming from the kitchen. As Wallace and I stride in, Lean comes to her feet after having been on the couch. She lazily covers a deep yawn with her hand. As she does,
Hi.
aye. So you managed to find the place. Welcome to my home, I guess. I'd introduce you to this guy as well, but it seems you two already know each other. Wallace and I exchanged a brief glance. Just had a coffee together once. While I did find his size intimidating at first, he seems a bit of a gentle giant figure now that I'm around him more. Looks like this isn't going to be dinner for just me and Eileen then. Taking one last glance about, the inside of her place is nice as the outside. From the meticulously cleanliness to the trendy furniture, her home looks more suited to a design magazine than a student's living area. Your apartment's really nice. Thanks. I like to try and keep things organized, especially when visitors are over. Eileen glances daggers at Wallace, but doesn't pay any head. The two seem to have a good handle on each other. Moving on, Wallace just watch TV or something while we get dinner sorted. Can do. Thanks again for letting me have dinner with you. Don't get too comfortable. I'm going to make you work for your food. Eileen motions for me to come over with her, but the gesture was unnecessarily given her commanding tone. Wallace gives a dreary glance as he follows his orders, and I quickly do the same. I'm gonna need a drink of water. I end up... as a Veruca, I have to do more maths, I tell you. I end up standing before a well-used cutting board. Taking the large knife Eileen offers before sizing up the variety of vegetables awaiting its blade. I don't think she notices my hesitation as she opens the rice cooker and gives the contents a stir. The two of us waste little time in getting to work. The sound of food being prepared filling the room. Unfortunately, it isn't long before I have earned Eileen's ire.
No.
Stop! My heart practically leaps out of my chest as I immediately freeze, hands retreating from the cutting board. Did I hand you a hatchet? No. And why are you using that as one? It looks like you're trying to lop off some fingers. In response to my puzzled look, she takes the knife off me and starts demonstrating the correct technique herself. Thought you'd be more help than him in fixing this up. Look, curl your hand in next to where you want to cut, like this. Now use the knife like a lever instead of wildly hacking away. We're making nice slow slices, not some slasher B movie scene.
Okay.
Right, I think I have it. Eileen hands the knife back, and after a breath to steady myself, I have another try. She soon starts frowning as I slice away, but at least she's not yelling at me. I'm guessing you don't cook for yourself. Her eyes rest on the collection of lopsided shapes sitting before me. I'm lucky if I don't mess up instant noodles.
Huh?
So those were impossible to get wrong. I'm genuinely impressed. You do all your own cooking? Not like I have anyone else to cook for me. Healthier than living off pizza and burgers too. What about Wallace? Aren't you roommates? No, he just loafs around here sometimes. I've tried to get him to help, but he's no better than you are. I'm always feeding him and letting him crash on my couch. He even bugs me for free pictures for his writing. She sets down her knife and genuine, if depressing thought. Maybe we should just become roommates. I think I'm starting to get a handle on their relationship now. As strange a pair as they might seem, the stern and uncompromising Eileen and a gentle giant Wallace seem like they're a compatible couple. Couple. Like, it's literally, you could have just said roommates. One does one thing, one does the other thing. It's like one person doing the washing of the dishes every once in a while. I'm surprised you're not. I thought you might be together. Nope, just friends. So much for that. She waves away the idea so easily that it must have come up before. In fact, back at the cafe, Wallace seemed quick to clarify that too. Wallace's wife pipes up from behind us.
It's not often Eileen invites someone else over for dinner.
I don't invite anyone over for dinner. Just show up most of the time. Including now, actually. I've had to put up with him like this since high school. I guess no one else would.
Wait, does it not mean, she must have known Caprice as well, then?
Objection! I'm the one who puts up with you.
I'm the one currently holding a knife.
Objection withdrawn.
With that, he goes back to quietly watching television. I'm starting to get how Eileen deals with others in general. Now, she simply has no filter when it comes to stating what she believes to be true. That can be a problem, just as much as shyness, though. Thinking back to when we met, the only reason I didn't write the episode with her off is Caprice and Wallace nudging me afterwards. But here she is, looking after her friend and providing me with a meal. It took a while, but I'm glad I met her in the end. Perhaps that's why it's a little worrisome that she lives alone like this. You normally do all this without anyone help. You don't need to say that like it's a bad thing. There's all sorts in the world. Some are better with people than others. Living alone suits me, and I can afford it. You know Caprice, so don't you? So you're not completely alone besides Wallace. Maybe I shouldn't have said that. That way, how did you and Caprice meet? We were sitting at the same table for a biology lecture, and she started passing me notes during class out of the blue. Once we started talking afterwards, she didn't really stop. That's the way it goes with her. Once you get caught in her orbit, she doesn't let you go. Caprice isn't that bad. She's a sweet person, just high energy. She gives a non-comical grunt before getting on with her cooking. I do wish she'd give her a chance. Caprice does only mean the best for her. Moving away from that, could you grab the plates and glasses? These shouldn't take long to fry. Root beer, please.
No.
Water is healthier.
Allison.
Allison, please save me from this woman. All I can do is give a weak smile. Much as I'd like to give him what he asked for, following Eileen's orders would probably be the best for me. With all of us well and truly full, we sat around the table and savoured the meal we've had. It was the best food I've had in a while, since it was neither takeout nor cooked by Rose. Haven't sent a text message to her for a pickup. All that's left is to run down the clock as the evening wears on. Looking around the apartment, I point to one of the paintings on the wall. Did you paint all these? Yeah, I really need to find something else to put up there though.
Huh?
But why? They're really good. I appreciate the thought. All of them have dumb little mistakes though. Just needed something to make the walls less bare when I moved in, and never got around to replacing them. You like painting people in particular, don't you? Just into portraits and figures, modern arts. All well and good, but I started with figure drawing and ended up attached to it. Bodies are pretty fascinating when you think about them, really think about them. That as I've spent days just sitting there sketching, trying to work out how the muscles fit together, how lighting interacts with skin, and all that. The way she rattles off her thoughts with such feeling gives away how much she cares about the subject. I can't say I take it quite as seriously as she does, but I can see where she comes from, where she's coming from. But you can see that they're mostly just women. That's all that we've seen of her drawn. Interested in this stuff, Allison? Me, I just drew a little in high school, passing the time, that kind of thing. Nothing wrong with that. I sketch on my tablet and Élan gives pointers sometimes. Maybe I should throw you to the wolves and tell Caprice you're like doing art as well. You wouldn't. I'm thinking about it. I can't help but giggle a bit at the two of them. Yet even as I do, there's a small pang of envy there. I can empathize with Élan keeping her group of friends small, but I do wish I were closer to her in more ways than one. She's who I wish I could be. The familiar sound of a motorbike's horn can be faintly heard from outside, bringing a end to both my thoughts and this little outing. That for you. Given a nod, I get up from the chair and collect my coat from Élan's helpful hand, quickly throwing it over myself.
Thank you.
Thanks for the night, it was nice. Not wanted to keep Rose waiting. I wave Wallace goodbye as I take my leave, with Élan coming along to see me out the door. Got everything with you? I quickly pat around my pocket to make sure phone, purse, keys, they all seem to be there. All good.
I'll see you then.
I'll see
If
you
you want
then.
to come around again, feel free.
If I'm not too much trouble, that'd be nice.
I do a poor job of hiding my happiness at the offer. My reply just a little too quick to sound natural.
You're no trouble. It honestly does me good to see you a bit more upbeat.
I tilt my head a little at the odd idea.
You just seemed kind of skittish before, but now you're all sunshine and rainbows. It suits you.
Sorry. I'm a bit shy.
Not to mention a bit homesick, being able to talk with friends outside of school was a nice change. Not to mention having a homemade meal, even if I didn't help that much. It did take my mind off things. Eventually, as my mind slowly manages to get back into gear, I muster the words to say what I want to tell her, as I get past being so slaughtered.
If you don't mind me being around for dinner, maybe being together in a club wouldn't be so bad.
She hesitates for a good few moments, making me doubt myself as I offer the suggestion as carefully as possible. She knows I like her as a person, so hopefully she can look past her previous experiences. Just as I begin to think I overstepped the mark, she gives a almost comical long sigh. The horn sounds again in the distance as silence reigns, but my feet stay plastered as she comes to an answer.
Fine. Tell Caprice she can have her dumb club.
Thank you.
Just don't make me regret it.
With an enthusiastic nod and a wave, I start off down the hallway once more, Élan disappearing into her apartment as I look back. Even as I walk down the hallway, my steps somehow feel lighter than they did as I entered. Being around the others usually makes me exhausted, but right now I feel more comfortable than ever. Sorry about that, my nose is always getting blocked up now.
Wallace!
Wallace, it's nice to see you again. How's it going? Well, that is where I want to end for today. Ooh, 54 minutes. Well, we gotta end here. So hopefully you enjoyed this. Have a nice day, safe, possible. Good sources. Think of the right ones, very important. And bye bye, see you next time. Bye bye, see you, bye bye.